The iPad mini 6 has an almost cult-like following, becoming very popular among a number of people, including myself. But there are a few things that I think Apple could improve on that would make the tablet perfect. What is going on, everybody? My name is Mike Caputo. Thanks very much for being back here. Today, I'm going to tell you about my 6 features that I think Apple should add to the next iPad mini to take this from a niche device to a must-have gadget. If you're like me, you might be surprised how much you like the iPad mini 6. Really, it's probably been one of my best device purchases all year. And I'm not kidding when I say this, I really use it all the time. But after more than 100 days of consistent usage, there are really some opportunities for the iPad mini. And what I want to do here is take an objective look at what those shortcomings are and provide that feedback to Apple, how and what they can change in the next version of the iPad mini. Let's get started. Now, today's video is gonna be structured into sections, and I have each one of those sections pinned right below the like button in case you want to navigate back and forth. Now, the act of delivering feedback is really tricky. If you ever have to give feedback, you never know how that person's going to act, and sometimes that person can become defensive and take your feedback in the wrong way. But lucky for you and I, the iPad mini doesn't have feelings. My feedback for the iPad mini comes from a place of love. I mean, I really enjoy the device. I don't think I can say this enough. It's a pleasure to use. I use it all the time, and it's even replaced my iPhone usage for a good percentage of my tasks that I'm doing. But if you're on the hunt for the perfect tablet, it is no doubt a delicate balance of hardware and software. And you might think that the iPad mini checks all the boxes. A sleek design? Check. A powerful processor to fit most people's use cases? Check. A camera robust enough to capture those special moments without even worrying about pixelation or distortion? The iPad mini has you covered if iPad photography is your type of thing. All of these features come in a highly conformable, compact package that is both easy to use and immersive. But something still is not quite perfect. It is easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say, hey, you know what? I think Apple should add the high refresh rate display from the iPad Pro, add a mini LED display from the iPad Pro, and add Face ID and call it a day. Now, while those are great features, they would undoubtedly add significant cost to the iPad mini. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to pay much more money for a small iPad. That said, the goals of today's video are threefold. First, I want to go ahead and increase the appeal of the iPad mini to a broader audience. Second, I want to enhance the iPad mini by adding quality of life improvements. And finally, I want to do both of these things without materially impacting the cost of the device. Now, that means unfortunately high cost features like the XDR display from the iPad Pro and features like ProMotion are off the table. But if you are someone who likes the iPad Pro feature set and you want to see that in the iPad mini, comment iPad mini Pro down in the comments below. First, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Whether you own the iPad mini today or you've been looking to purchase one, you are almost certainly aware of the term jelly scrolling. Now, jelly scrolling is what you could see when one side of the screen refreshes faster than the other side of the screen, making the text appear jelly-like. Now, I use the term could because in my experience, jelly scrolling is subjective to the person and their individual calibration. I've seen it before a few times. I've never found it distracting enough where I wanted to return the device. I think there are some people out there that are watching this video that probably have been in that camp and they'd like to see that fixed. Undoubtedly, it is an issue. If you watch my iPad mini 30-day review, I primarily use my device in landscape mode, which is why I tend not to see this. If I am using it in portrait mode, I'm not necessarily reading on-screen text, which might explain why I don't see it very often. Jelly scrolling is more noticeable, from at least from my experience, when the device is in portrait mode like it is right now. It is undoubtedly an issue that Apple needs to address, and my suggestion is that whether it is in the next version of the iPad mini, the iPad mini 7, or through a software update, Apple takes care of this first and foremost. Now, that's going to solve two things. First, it is going to repair the public's perception of this device. And second, it will draw interest from anyone that had purchased the device and returned it because of this issue. Having a cellular-enabled iPad is helpful for some, but when you have a 5G-enabled iPad mini, it just hits differently. You start to think to yourself, I don't need an iPhone. I have this device with me. It's small, it's portable, it does a lot of the tasks that I do on my iPhone, but unfortunately, that is not the case with the iPad mini. Now, using your iPad mini to make and receive calls natively is not supported on the iPad. It's not something that Apple supports with these devices. Now, it might be something with licensing, might be something with how the carriers have their plans structured. I would love to see Apple allow individuals to use their phone, much like you can use your Apple Watch, where your Apple Watch inherits your number from your iPhone. I love to see my iPad mini inherit my phone number and allow this to make and receive calls without having my phone close at hand. And while we're talking here, if you are finding value in today's content, hit the subscribe button right down there. Yep, that's it. And let me know down in the comments below how I can help you be more productive with your iPad in 2022. Widgets in iPadOS 15 is probably one of my favorite features because you can get contextual, glanceable information on your home screen without necessarily needing to dive into the app. Now, the problem is if you can read the text. I am telling you that I have the hardest trouble, and many other people saying that as well, regarding the padding around the apps and the widgets is just entirely way too small. The iPad mini looks almost comical because the widgets are so small on this device. Now, this issue is certainly not unique to the iPad mini because you could see it on any number of devices. But I think the problem is more pronounced on the iPad mini because of two reasons. So one, it's the size of the display coming in at 8.3 inches. And two, it's because of the high pixel density. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the iPad mini has the highest pixel density of any iPad in the lineup at 326 pixels per inch, higher than the iPad Pro. So that is my hypothesis on why we see these issues because of the scaling. And I don't know, it's very hard for me to read. It's almost, sometimes I would say, unusable. Towards the end of the day when your eyes get tired, I wear contacts, so I don't know if you do. But I almost have to take off my contacts or take out my contacts and then look at the screen up close if I want to see it because the text is that small. Now, I would love to see Apple do one of two different things. Either A, increase the text size to make it more readable on the iPad mini by also increasing the size of the widget because the widgets are frankly just too small. Oh, that was close. Or B, allow users to change the text size in the widgets by using the same per app text sizing that is available in iPadOS 15. Now, if you would solve this a different way, let me know down below what you would do. It seems like the opportunity was missed when Apple brought QuickPath Typing to the iPad in terms of the floating keyboard. It is entirely way too small for this device. Now, I'm trying to navigate this using one hand or using two hands. I just don't have the precision needed to do this. I would love to see Apple make the QuickPath Typing keyboard expandable by pinching and having it swipe out to maybe one or two different sizes larger than it is today. I often find myself having to use my pencil to swipe through the different letters. Now, that's not ideal because I don't want to carry my pencil with me all the time. I don't want to worry about it being on here. But I think to myself, why would anyone ever want to use QuickPath Typing on this small device? Because it doesn't really make sense given the reachability issues that are present with it. But I would like to see them change that option. This next feature that I'm going to talk through has to do with typing, but you really see it in just about every other UI interaction. And that is going to be the ability to add haptic touch into this device. Now, if you're not familiar, haptic touch allows you to do things faster on your device. Take selfies, open up contextual menus, access shortcuts, turn on the flashlight, all this by just pressing into an app icon. Now, this would be great not just from a typing perspective, like I mentioned just a few moments ago with QuickPath Typing, but it'd also be great for just interacting with the operating system and gaming. This is an amazing gaming tablet. It's probably, I would say, more compelling than the Nintendo Switch, if you know what that is, because of its size and because of the size of the screen. Now, I think that haptics on the iPad mini would be a complete game changer from a gaming perspective. One of the biggest challenges for the iPad mini, in my opinion, is overcoming the perception that you cannot be productive with the iPad mini. Now, you and I know that we can accomplish real work using the iPad mini because we have the device and we use it regularly. But I do think that the iPad mini could certainly stand to add support for the Smart Dock connector on the back of the device. No, it's not exclusive to the Pro line of devices. It is found on the lower cost iPad. And I think it would allow Apple and other third parties, let's say like Logitech, to refine the keyboard and trackpad experience that does not exist today. This would broaden the device's niche appeal and kind of open it up from a productivity standpoint to a larger audience. Now, I've based my recommendations on how I use the iPad mini, and there's without a doubt, you would come up with different recommendations based on how you use the device, but I would love to know, what do you think of my recommendations? What would you change? What would you add? Again, the objective is not to add significant cost to the device. So not adding features that would, I think the XDR display is probably a good example, or Face ID is a good example. Those features are normally reserved for higher cost devices or devices with higher price points. If I want to keep the iPad mini relatively the same cost, what would I add? What would you add? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching my video on what features I would change with the iPad mini. I'll talk to you in the next one.